More now on the death of award-winning Canadian actor Graham Greene. His agent sharing the news that he passed away today in Stratford, Ontario, of natural causes. And Benit joins us for more on this story. He was considered an icon and gained a lot of recognition, let's say, in the early 1990s.
Yeah, it was in 1990 where he became known as one of the most recognizable Indigenous actors in all of North America. You might know the movie Dances with Wolves. That is the movie that earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Role. And we're just going to start off by playing that clip, so take a listen.
Tatanka.
Tatanka. Buffalo.
Do.
Buffalo.
Tatanka.
Buffalo.
Buff.
Buff. Buff.
Buff.
Buffalo. Tatanka.
Say.
So perhaps some recollections there. He was also in other works like The Last of Us and Reservation Dogs, Running Revolution and Running Brave. And before he took on his role in acting, he kind of lived many other lives in a way. He was a steel worker, a welder. He was also a draftsman and an audio tech. And his work, especially as an audio tech, allowed him to be a roadie. So he traveled a lot with musicians.
Wow.
And this was that work that really allowed him to connect with crowds. And he said that there was once a man who came up to him and he said, have you ever considered theater? And he's like, I don't know much about theater. I don't even know much about what scripts look like. And just look where that got him. And he said doing that work really allowed him to learn discipline through all that, the process. And, you know, he was one of the few Indigenous actors in Canada at that time really taking up space when it was lacking. He is Oneida from the Six Nations of the Grand River in Ontario. He often had to speak languages and represent tribes that weren't his own. But over the years, you can see just what a legacy he's left in that space. You
mentioned the Oscar nomination, kind of the gold standard when it comes to acting awards. But take us through some of the other honors.
So one of the biggest honors, milestones of his life was the Governor General's Award. So you can see he's going up there to do his speech. And he initially thought that this was a prank, that his friends were joking around with him, and he felt like he didn't deserve it for some reason, but there you go. This was a Lifetime Artistic Achievement Award, and throughout his career, he played numerous roles, from chiefs, medicine men, doctors, also an inmate on death row, for example, so just quite a diversity there. All of this was part of his journey to earning this award, and we do have a moment to listen to what he said in his speech. Take a listen.
I've worked all around the world. People always said, you should move to Los Angeles. And I said, no, I don't like Los Angeles. I hate New York. I don't like any of those places. I was born in Canada, and I'm here to stay here, and that's it.
So definitely staying true to his Canadian roots, his Canadian pride. And we are expecting more details in the celebration of his life coming up. But,
okay, Benit, thank you so much. Let's have a closer look at the legacy of Graham Greene. We're joined by Canadian actor and singer Tom Jackson, who co-starred with Graham in the film Medicine River and the TV movie Spirit Rider, and we've reached him in Nova Scotia. Tom, thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. You were not just a co-star with Graham, but also a friend. And so what's your reaction to this news?
Well, my best recollection with Graham was a couple of months ago, and I realized that I never spent enough time enjoying Graham's company, but he was, I wasn't necessarily a best friend to him, but he was a best friend to me. And in this industry, when bubbles seem to be moving between each other, you know, you're on that project and you're on that project, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to create the kind of bonds that are offered to you. And Graham was a very much a man in the moment. You know, I saw him a couple of months ago, and we spent so much time together when the room was full alone. Like, we spent so much time together alone, and it was just a joy. And he was like that with all the others that I've known that he had a reason to be sitting next to. He was an awesome guy.
There are so many actors that I've spoken to who knew they wanted to be actors from the time that they were, in elementary school, and they were in every play that they could be. They honed their craft. Maybe they went to university to study acting. I was surprised to hear that Graham was a steel worker, that he was an audio technician, that he did all these other jobs and kind of came to acting later in life. And so how do you think that life experience molded him as an actor?
I think what he understood was that if you want to be in show business, you had to be in the business of making shows. So he would do whatever it took. He would run sound, he would build sets, he would be stage manager, he would do what needed to be in the business. And it's one of the greatest lessons, I think, that anyone can ever teach people in this business. You need to learn how to carry cables. You need to learn how to make the sets. And at the end of the day, you realize that, as he did, as he shared with me, you realize that to be in the business, you have to be the business. And he was. He was an epitome of the business. He was a friend and a brother for me. Personally, it's an honor to be able to speak about Graham, not for him, but about him.
Yeah. I want to ask you one other thing, if I can, Tom. We're it's taken a long time, but Canada is on this path towards truth and reconciliation. But back in the 80s, in the 90s, what do you think it was like for Graham to be one of the first kind of recognized Indigenous actors to be thrust in the spotlight the way he was?
But I think we were prepared because, like other artists, we want to accomplish and be something and have our legacy be celebrated by the folks that we're creating history for. But I also think that back then it was a very difficult time to be introduced into the industry when others were playing others, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of First Nation parts that were played by non-First Nation actors. Graham broke ground, and he did it so well. Let me just say this, that of all the theater actors that I have seen or had experience with, Graham was the best theater actor that I have ever known. And I stamp that.
It can't be easy to be speaking about him, and as you point out, not for him, on this evening, just shortly after getting the news of his passing. But Tom, I really appreciate you speaking with us.
One thing that I can say, and let me guess that Graham would say it, but I love you.
Canadian actor and singer Tom Jackson, thank you so much for speaking with us.